Hey everybody, Darren Alf here from BicycleTouringPro.com. I am live on the Bicycle Touring Pro YouTube channel. This is my book, The Bicycle Touring Blueprint. This is the book that everyone is using to plan their own bicycle touring adventures. And now that 2019 is right around the corner, if you are planning to conduct a bike tour anywhere in the world, you should get a copy of this book. You can get it for $5 off by entering the coupon code YouTube Live at checkout on my website, bicycletouringpro.com/book. Okay, we are a little early. I started the broadcast about 5 minutes early just to give myself time to make sure that everything was working and also to let everybody know that the broadcast was about to begin. So I'm going to wait about 5 minutes until I begin the presentation here about my 2019 cycling adventures. And I'll be giving out details on how you can join me on one of my upcoming bicycle tours in 2019. So hang tight. We'll begin in just a moment. Like I said, I started a little bit early just because I wanted to give myself the time to make sure that the camera was working and the sound is working. So if you're watching this right now on YouTube, especially, if you're watching on YouTube, there's a comment box where you can comment live as I'm talking, and I can see your comments and I can respond. So we have 5 minutes before we begin here. Leave a comment if you would, and let me know if you can see me and hear me okay. But also let me know where you are in the world, because every time I do one of these webinars, there's people from all over the place, and it's really cool to hear where you're all from. So I see David Jones says, hey, from Birmingham in the UK. Chris says, we can see and hear well. Scottish B says, I was just reading up on that Virginia tour. I'll talk about that in just a moment, Scott. Scottish B. Renell says, I like your haircut. Thank you. I just got out of bed and didn't brush it. Scottish B says, here in Illinois. Ronald B says, I'm an American in Paris. There's Chuck in Indianapolis, and John in Brevard, North Carolina. I'm guessing NC is North Carolina. Daniel from Jacksonville, Florida. A lot of US people. That's cool. John says, greetings from the Netherlands. Clay is from Kentucky. So that's good. There's so many people from the US, because at Bicycle Touring Pro, I really cater to an international audience, which I kind of take a lot of pride in. But today I'm going to be talking about 2 new bike tours that I'm going to be doing in 2019. And both of these bike tours are going to be in the United States, one on the West Coast, one on the East Coast. And I'll talk about that in just a minute. But I'm happy to see that there's so many people here from the US. So hopefully some of you can join me on my 2019 tours. I see Eric says, your book, The Bicycle Touring Blueprint, is the best resource. Richmond, Virginia. Thank you so much, Eric. I really appreciate that. This is the book he's talking about. For those of you who are planning to conduct a bike tour next year, grab a copy of my book, The Bicycle Touring Blueprint. If you enter the coupon code YouTube Live at checkout, you'll get $5 off the book. And you can get the book at bicycletouringpro.com/book or at www.biketourbook.com. Okay, so I've started the webinar just a few minutes early. I'm going to wait another minute or two before we begin. I just wanted to start it a little bit early so everyone would know that we're about to start. So thanks for hanging with me, guys. I see I don't know how to say your name. Zlost from Montreal, Canada. Ivan from Moldova, it said. I lost you there. Anyways, yeah, Moldova. Ivan. Hey, that's cool. I biked across Moldova in 2012, and it was great. I loved it. It was freezing cold, but I would totally go back. Yeah, Dan in real life says, yo, Darren, hello from New York. Reverend Joseph Washburn from Whiteville, North Carolina. Larry from Louisiana. Oh, man. Hello from Berlin, Ben Lubin. David in Minnesota. Nikola from Serbia. That's a good name from Serbia. Nikola Tesla from Serbia. From Poland. Cool. I'm going to be back in Poland in just a few days, actually. In less than a week, I'll be back in Poland. Hello, Darren. Nice to see you live. I like your videos very much and watch them all. Kindly greetings from Germany. Dziękuję. No, that was Polish. Sorry. Dankeschön. Vielen Dank. I get all my languages mixed up inside my head. Hello from Ukraine, and that's another place that I'm going to be going in 2019. Actually, I'll be back in Ukraine. I'll talk about that in a minute. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. So it's just about 10 a.m. here in Southern California, where I am right now. I want to just wait another 30 seconds or so before we start, because I told people that we'd be starting at 10 a.m. It's only just now 10, so I'm going to give people just a couple more seconds to tune in. Thank you all so much for showing up for this special live broadcast from my bedroom in Southern California. We're going to be talking about my 2019 bicycle touring adventures, and I'm going to be giving you details on how you can join me on one of my upcoming bike tours in 2019. So thank you once again. As I said just a moment ago, if you're watching this live on YouTube, there is a chat box on the right-hand side of the screen, or possibly on the bottom of the screen, depending on if you're on your mobile phone or your computer or whatever. But there is a chat box there so that you can comment as I'm talking. And right now, people are letting me know that they can see me and hear me. It seems like everything is working okay, so that's great. The other thing people are letting me know is where they're from in the world, because as I said, every time I do one of these webinars, there's people from all over the place, and it's really awesome. And I think that's one of the things that I really enjoy the most about being the Bicycle Touring Pro and doing what I do, is that I get to work with people from all around the world, and I've made a lot of good friends over the years with people who live in different countries or live here in the United States. So very, very cool. Now, it's 10:01, so let's begin. Just a quick introduction for those of you who don't know who I am. My name is Darren Alf, and I am the Bicycle Touring Pro. I run the website at bicycletouringpro.com. I've actually been running that website for more than 11 years now, and I've been bicycle touring myself around the world for almost 19 years now. I can't even believe that. And in that time, I've biked across dozens and dozens of countries, pretty much every continent in the world. And I've also written several books about bicycle touring in that time. I've written this book, which I just mentioned a moment ago. It's called The Bicycle Touring Blueprint. This is really kind of my main book. This is like a big textbook on how to conduct your own bicycle touring adventures. I've written that book. I've written this book called The Essential Guide to Touring Bicycles, which is all about how to find your ideal touring bike. I've written this book, which I'll be putting into use this winter. This is a book called Winter Cycling, all about riding your bicycle during the winter time. And I've also put together this little book, which is called Stretching for Cyclists. And it's a short and simple stretching book for those of you who know that you need to stretch, but aren't doing it as frequently as you should, and want a routine that you can do basically in 5 minutes at the beginning and end of every single day that you're out on your bike. So I've done that. I have produced more than 550 free videos on the Bicycle Touring Pro YouTube channel. I have over 1,200 free articles on my website at bicycletouringpro.com, all about the gear you should be using, packing lists, how to conduct your dream bike tour, reviews of places that I've gone on my own bicycle touring adventures, and a whole lot more. And one of the things that I do as the Bicycle Touring Pro is, well, I conduct my own bicycle touring adventures, but I also occasionally invite you guys, my readers, my followers, my friends, on my bike tours. I invite you guys to join me on some of my bike tours all around the world. And in the past, I've done bike tours in Norway, South Africa. I've done reader bike tours in Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia. I've done tours in France, all over the world. But one of the things that I've never done is actually a bike tour in the United States. of any length. Now, last, gosh, when was it? I can't remember. I think it was like a year, or at the beginning of this year, I can't even remember, or last year, I conducted a short overnight bike tour in Southern California, which I called the Bikes and Burritos Overnight Tour. It's a 2-day, 1-night sort of weekend style bike tour that started here at my parents' home in Southern California. We biked from my parents' home about 20 miles down to the beach, through Malibu, and then we spent the night at a campground in Southern California, camped there, made a campfire, ate burritos for dinner, and then slept in our tents. And then the following morning, we woke up, had breakfast, and biked back to my parents' house 20 miles back the other way. It's kind of a short, simple introduction to bicycle touring for a lot of people. And the event was a great success. And because it was such a success, like hundreds of people have written to me since then and said, when are you going to be doing that again? Because I want to do that. And I want to go on the next Bikes and Burritos tour. Please tell me when you're doing another one. So I'm here today to tell you that I am going to be doing another Bikes and Burritos tour. And that trip is going to be on May 18th and 19th. So the weekend of May 18th and 19th, 2019, is the next Bikes and Burritos overnight bicycle tour. It's here, same place. We're starting in Camarillo, California, and riding our bikes down to Malibu, California, down the beach. So it's a very short, simple, easy ride. It's pretty much entirely flat. Some really great scenery of the ocean, Magoo Rock, all that kind of stuff, Pacific Coast sort of cycling. So if that sounds like something that you'd be interested in, there are only 15 spots available on this particular bike tour. I've booked 2 campsites basically, and you're only allowed 8 people per campsite, so 16 total people. So I'm one of the people, and now there are 15 spots left on this trip. So if you're interested in joining me on the 2nd annual Bikes and Burritos overnight tour in Southern California, the link to sign up is on my website at bicycletouringpro.com/calendar. So go there. You'll not only see the link for this event, the Bikes and Burritos tour, but you'll also see the link for all of the other bike tours that you were invited to join me on in 2019. And you'll see that there are actually 4 bike tours that are up on the website right now. So there's 4 bike tours that you can join me on in 2019. So I'll go back and just talk about these 4 trips now. So the first trip that I'm doing in 2019 that you're welcome to join me on is the Provence Prestige and Velo bike tour in Provence, France. This is a self-guided bicycle tour. I'll talk about what that means in just a moment. But it's basically a week-long bicycle tour through southern France, and it's not a camping trip. It's a very high-end bicycle touring experience. So we're going to be staying in fancy hotels and eating like, 5-star meals and French cuisine and that sort of a thing. It's a very, very nice high-end bicycle touring experience, and it's not probably something that everyone's going to want to join, because I know some people like to camp and they want to do things as cheaply as possible. This is probably not that tour. This is probably a tour more for people who want to go on a romantic holiday or are really into French foods or are interested in the history of France, that kind of a thing. Really, really fantastic tour. And this is actually talking about bike tours, France is one of the best places to go cycling in the entire world. I've been to France 5 times previously. This will be my sixth time in the country for bicycle touring, and honestly, I can't wait. I've never been to this part of France before, Provence, France, so it's totally new to me. I honestly don't know what it's going to be like, but I have a feeling based on my previous 5 bike tours in France that it's going to be amazing. So the dates for that bike tour, if you're interested in joining, the dates for that tour are April 14th to the 20th, 2019. And once again, all the details on that France bike tour are up on my website at bicycletouringpro.com/calendar. Then in May is the Bikes and Burritos overnight tour in Southern California. That's May 18th to 19th, 2019. And like I said, there's only 15 spots available on that bike tour. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they all were taken up today, because I've had so much demand for doing this bike tour again. And there's a lot of people here in Southern California that follow Bicycle Touring Pro. So if you're interested, I'd highly encourage you to sign up as soon as possible. Only 15 spots available on that trip. Now, the next bike tour that I'm going to be doing in 2019 is on the East Coast of the United States. So I have one bike tour on the West Coast, the Bikes and Burritos overnight tour in Southern California in May. And then in June, I'm traveling to the East Coast of the United States, and I'm doing a bike tour in Virginia. And this is a bike tour unlike one I've ever done before. And honestly, I think this is going to be a really exciting tour, not just for myself, but for you as well, if you're interested in joining me. So I am participating in the Bike Virginia tour, which is a week-long cycling event that takes place in Virginia every year. And this is an event that's been going on for more than 30 years now. What it is basically a big, like 1,500 person bicycle tour. So people come from all around the country and even all around the world to participate in this event every year. And this year they're expecting anywhere from like 1,500 to 1,700 people to be participating in this week-long event. And this is a bike tour unlike others I've done in the past, because a lot of the bike tours I've done in the past, they like start over here and they end over here, and the whole week is like traveling just slowly from the starting point to the ending point, right? That's how a lot of bike tours are, is like start, finish, go. The Bike Virginia event is a little bit different, because what you do is you arrive at the starting location, which this year the bike tour starts and ends in the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia, which is kind of in northern Virginia, a really, really scenic area. And so the bike tour kind of starts and ends in the same place. And there are two different base camps for the bicycle tour. So the first base camp is basically like we stay in the same place for the first 3 days of the trip. So you arrive there, and we're all camping for the most part, although you can stay in hotels if you want to, but most people are going to be camping. So you get to the base camp, and then we go off on day rides every single day for 3 days straight around that area. And they have all the routes planned out, and there's different rides for different skill levels. So if you're a total beginner, there's going to be a group of cyclists that you can ride with. If you're an intermediate cyclist, there's going to be a ride for you. And then if you're an advanced cyclist, someone who wants to ride like 100 miles a day and go through the mountains and all that kind of stuff, there's going to be a group for you as well. So they split this big group of people up into basic skill levels, or the length of the trip that you want to do that particular day. Maybe you're just not in the mood to cycle 100 miles. You can do 50 miles, or you can do 30 miles, depending on how you feel on any given day. So it's really cool how they do that. And basically, so for the first 3 days, we stay in this one place and we go out on a day ride, and then we come back to where we started in the morning. And then we have food and camp and socialize, and there's a whole bunch of events that go on every night. There's gonna be like music and I don't know what else, campfires, who knows, you know, and stuff to buy and all these kinds of things. I think it'll be really fun. So, and then the next day we do another day trip in a different direction from the base camp, and then we come back to camp. And the next day we do another ride in a different direction, come back to base camp. And then on the fourth day, we move to a new base camp, which is further down the Shenandoah Valley. And then we do the same thing again, where we go off on day rides around that area for the next 3 days. So this is a really kind of unique bicycle touring experience. And like I said, it's something that I personally have never done before. But I think because of the size of the event and because of the location of the event, it's really going to be something special. For those of you who don't know, I rode my bicycle from North Carolina to Maine back in 2003. This was a very long time ago, but I spent a summer riding my bicycle up the East Coast of the United States. And one of the states that I passed through on that trip was the state of Virginia. And that's where this bicycle tour is taking place this year. And honestly, like, I'm not even exaggerating, but Virginia was my favorite place that I went on the entire East Coast bicycle tour. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Part of it is just the scenery and stuff. But a big part of it was the people. I just really enjoyed, like, pretty much everybody I ran into in Virginia was so nice and welcoming. There's a lot of characters out there. I'll just tell you about. I'm trying to think of. Well, there were 3 interesting people that I met in Virginia. This is just a total random side story, but I think it's kind of fun to share some of the stories from my past bicycle tours. So my first day in Virginia back in 2003, it had been raining like for the previous 2 days before. And so the whole state was like flooded. And there were parts of the state where I was cycling down the road, and off to the sides of the roads, there was so much water on the ground that cars were like floating in the water on the side of the road. And there were houses that were 3 feet underwater. There was that much rain. But on that particular day, I found a laundromat, and I was like, oh man, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to wash all my clothes. It's going to be amazing. I can't wait. So I like threw everything I had into this washing machine. And then I just sat there at the laundromat, like waiting for my clothes to wash and dry. And while I was sitting there, this big guy, like with a big old beer belly, basically, came up to me and he was like, what you doing? Where are you going? And, you know, that kind of a thing. Just asking about my trip. And we got talking, and I was telling him, and he was like blown away. He was a PE teacher at a local elementary school, and he couldn't believe that I was like riding my bike from North Carolina to Maine. This was like something he'd never heard of. You know, bike touring in general is something a lot of people have never heard of. So we're talking, and it's pouring, and like it had been raining, and it was still kind of raining at the time, and it was expected to pour rain that night and like for the next day. And this guy said like, hey, I live a couple miles down the road. If you want to come and stay at my house, you can. And at first I was like a little scared because, you know, at the time I was 19 years old, and you're told your whole life, like, don't go with strangers and stuff like that. But eventually I was like, okay, yeah, that'd be really cool, you know? So I go to this guy's house, and he actually lived in a trailer. Just like a single wide trailer parked out on some really nice land in the middle of Virginia. And it started to rain. And so I came inside and ended up staying the night at his house. And it was just like one of those experiences where, like I say, you're told your whole life that you should avoid strangers. And this guy just came out of nowhere at the laundromat of all places. To offer me a free place to stay. It's just really awesome. So that was one of the people that I met on my Virginia tour. Really nice guy. 2, another night in Virginia, on this particular day, it was really hot, and I was cycling like through this forested area, and I remember that it was so hot that the road was like melting. The tar was sticking to my tires, and I came into this little town, and there was a campground there, and I paid like $25 or something for a campsite. And when I got to the campsite, it was like right next to the dumpster. And I was like, I just paid $25 to sleep next to the dumpster, you know? And so I went back to the desk, and I was like, I don't want to pay the $25 to sleep next to a dumpster. And so she said, well, that's the only site we have, or something like that. So I said, can I just get my money back, and I'm going to go I'll find somewhere else to camp. I don't want to pay $25 to sleep next to the dumpster. So she gave me my money back, and I left the campsite. At this time, it was already pretty late at night. I was like, shoot, where am I going to camp now? I should have just stayed there. So I was cycling down the road in Virginia, and I saw this woman who was like out getting her mail or something in front of her house. And I pulled up next to her. I think I kind of scared her a little bit. But I pulled up next to her, and I was like, hey, do you know anywhere around here where I could camp for the night? I'm riding my bike up the coast. I just need a place to camp. And this was a line that I was using. This is a tip for you guys if you're ever bike touring. This was a line that I was using a lot on that particular bike tour, and because it's a good way of asking people, can I sleep in your yard, without actually saying, can I sleep in your yard? So I was like, hey, do you know anywhere around here that I might be able to camp for the night? When in reality, I could see that she had a big, nice lawn that I could potentially camp in. So she was like, oh, yeah, maybe. She said, I actually have an RV behind the house. If you wanted to, you could stay in the RV. And so that's exactly what happened. I was like, oh, yeah, that'd be great. And she invited me in. I got a shower. She actually ended up inviting like all of her friends over to meet me that night. We had like a little house party. We were up until 1 o'clock in the morning. We ordered 2 pizzas. All her friends, she invited her parents over to meet me. Her dad came over and brought me beer and chocolate. I don't drink beer, but I took the chocolate. And yeah, it was, and well, oh, the funniest thing was, this lady was like a cat lady. She had like 13 cats. And on her front door, it said like, welcome, we take in strays. Welcome, we take in strays. And I just thought it was really funny because here I am, you know, biking up the coast as a stray, and she ended up taking me in for the night and giving me a free place to stay. So that was one of my really great bicycle touring experiences in Virginia. And the last person that stands out as like really interesting on my Virginia tour, I went off on a long aside here, I realize that, but the last person I met on my Virginia tour was this really old man who invited me into his backyard to show me his still that he had been using to create like moonshine, and which is illegal, by the way. And he had this like hole in the ground that he had dug by hand, that, like a bunker. That's what it was. It was an underground bunker that he had his still hidden in. So we go down into this bunker. There's this little still down there. The place stinks like alcohol. And he opens up these like drawers, and there's these probably only about like 3 bottles of glass jars filled with like pure, clear liquid, you know, which is the moonshine itself. And he opens this up and he makes me smell it, and he tells me, and then he lifts up. He goes like this. He lifts up his arm and he rolls back his sleeve, and when he did this, I could see that there was no muscle on his arm at all. It was just bone, pure bone, skin, like bone with skin around it. And like his whole arm was basically gone. And he goes on to tell me that like 20 years before this, he had been in his backyard making some moonshine on the still, and the thing had exploded. And it blew, you know, it's super hot. And it just blew off his arm, basically, melted his arm. Just a crazy story. And so he said, like, these 3 bottles that I have are all I have left after the accident. So he had a whole bunch, and he was showing me his secret stash. He doesn't make the moonshine anymore after that incident, but he still had some of the illegal goods on him, I guess. Anyways, these are the types of things that happen when you go bicycle touring. You meet some really interesting people, some really nice people, some kind of crazy people. And those are some of the people that I met in the state of Virginia. So long story short, I'm going back to Virginia after more than 15 years, haven't been back there. And I'm really looking forward to it. If you want to join me on a bike tour in Virginia, there are about 1,500 spots available on this trip. And today, December 1st, 2018, is actually the opening day for the registration of this Bike Virginia tour. So if you're interested in signing up, you can go over to the website. This is not an event, by the way, that I am organizing. This is just an event that someone else has organized. Bike Virginia organizes it. And I'm simply participating. And I'm going to be there like taking pictures and shooting video like I normally do for Bicycle Touring Pro. But I'm basically just a tour participant. But if you want to come on the trip, I will be there, and it would be awesome to meet you. So I personally have nothing to do with this bike tour. Like, I'm not making money from it or anything. A lot of people assume that these tours that I'm doing, I make money from organizing them or something. But I don't know like even what the cost is of this Bike Virginia tour yet, because I myself haven't even signed up. Like I said, today is December 1st, 2018, and they just opened the registration like right now. So as soon as this event is over, I'm going to go sign up for the Bike Virginia tour. But anyways, the details again for that event are on my website at bicycletouringpro.com/calendar. It's called Bike Virginia, and that bike tour takes place between June 21st and June 22nd, or June 21st and June 26th, 2019. The other thing about this Bike Virginia trip, too, by the way, is that you can join the trip for the dates that are best for you. So you do not have to come out for the entire week-long event, actually. You can choose to come out for one day. You can choose to come out for the first 3 days, or you can choose to come out for the last 3 days. So if you just have like a weekend to come out and go cycling, you can do that on this Bike Virginia trip. It's really kind of cool how flexible they are. So I'm going to be there for all 6 days of the entire bike tour, the entire week. But if you only have a day or 3 days to come out and join me and 1,500 other people for the Bike Virginia tour, you should definitely consider that. So once again, the details for that event are on my website, bicycletouringpro.com/calendar. Then the last tour that I'm doing in 2019 that you are welcome and invited to join me on is going to be in Portugal. And I've talked about this a little bit already in the past, but I should mention it again while we're talking about my 2019 bike tours. I'm going back to Portugal for the 3rd year in a row, and I'm doing another bike tour with Fulton Visit Cycling Holidays, which is the same company that I went with last year, or this year, I should say. This summer I was in Portugal, and I did a week-long bike tour with them. And now I'm going back and doing another bike tour with the same company because the first trip was so good. And if you guys have been watching my Bicycle Touring Pro YouTube channel recently, hopefully you watched all of the videos from my recent bike tour, the Camino tour that I did from Porto, Portugal up to Santiago de Compostela. That was a guided group bicycle tour with Fulton Visit Cycling Holidays, and that's the same tour company that I'm going to be touring with in 2019 in September. So the tour that I'm doing this year is a little bit different than the tour I did this summer. The tour that we're going to be doing in 2019 is called the Silver Coast Bike Tour. And this is a bike tour that starts in Porto, Portugal and goes south down the coast. So the tour that I did this summer started in Porto, Portugal and went north up the coast. And this year, 2019, we're going to go south down the coast. So it's going to be similar, I think, to the trip I did previously, but it's going to be very different because we're going through different cities and different places entirely. So should be very, very good. The one thing I should say about this Portugal bike tour with Fulton Visit Cycling Holidays is like I have done a lot of bike tours all around the world with different companies. Like obviously I do bike tours by myself, but I've also done a lot of guided and self-guided trips with different companies all around the world. And part of the reason I do these other types of bicycle tours, guided trips and self-guided trips, or big group trips and that sort of thing, is because I know that as the Bicycle Touring Pro, while a lot of my followers and readers want to conduct their own bike trips where they go off and camp in the woods and cook their own food and sleep on the ground and all that kind of, and go for days without a shower. So there are people that like to do that. There are also a whole lot of people that want the bicycle touring experience, but they want a warm bed, warm, comfortable bed to sleep in every day. They want a hot shower. They want some good meals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And so that's why I have been trying over the past few years, to show all of these various different types of bicycle touring. So that's why this year, with the 4 trips that I have planned, like I'm doing a very fancy self-guided bicycle tour in France. I'm doing a very short weekend-style camping trip in Southern California. I'm doing a giant group bike tour in Virginia with 1,500 people. That's going to be camping as well, by the way, with the option to stay in hotels if you want to. And then I'm doing a guided group bicycle tour in Portugal for those of you who want that kind of small group experience, but with some of the luxuries of like sleeping in a hotel and not starving while you're out on the road. So yeah, just like a really broad variety of different types of bicycle touring. And honestly, like that is something that I have really learned to enjoy over the years. Like I love sleeping in my tent and getting out in the woods and doing that kind of bike tour. But I think it's really cool to mix up your bicycle touring experiences and do things differently from time to time. And so that's why this year I've kind of arranged to do so many different types of trips. And I would encourage you guys to try different types of bicycle touring as well. So this final bike tour that I'm doing in 2019, the Silver Coast Bike Tour in Porto, Portugal is where we began. It's September 15th to the 21st, 2019. It's with Fold and Visit Cycling Holidays. And what I was going to say is that I've done like a lot of bike tours, group bike tours, guided bike tours all around the world with different companies. And honestly, like the people at Fold and Visit Cycling Holidays, the tour leaders, the people in the office, like everything, they're like the most down-to-earth, relatable, easy to get along with people that I've like ever done any bike tours with ever. I just really liked the bike tour that I did with them last year. And so I'm really looking forward to this bike tour as well. You know, some of these like guided bike tours are a little stuffy. They can, you know, just a little stuffy sometimes. Maybe like trying to spoil you too much, maybe, or pamper you too much, or babysit you too much. And I felt like this bike tour in Porto, Portugal with Fold and Visit Cycling Holidays is like the perfect combination of like you get all the luxuries of a guided group bicycle tour, but at the same time, like they're treating you like an adult and just like you're their best friend or something like that. So really great company, really fantastic cycling place. Like Portugal is becoming one of the most popular bicycle touring destinations in the world. There's a lot of reasons for that. It's cheap. It's a small country, so you can see like a large part of the country in a very short amount of time. The scenery and stuff is spectacular. You can bike down the coast. You can go inland. There's mountains. There's rivers. All that kind of stuff. Food is good. A lot of people speak English. So many reasons to go to Portugal. And I encourage you to think about joining me on my bike tour in Portugal in 2019. So there it is. Those are the 4 bike tours that I've announced thus far. There is one other bike tour I'm going to be doing in 2019. I have yet to announce it. I'll tell you what it is right now. I am planning to go to New Zealand in December of 2019. So like that would be winter here in the Northern Hemisphere, but it's actually summertime in New Zealand. It's probably one of the best times to go to New Zealand. So I don't know yet where I'm going to be going in New Zealand or which tour I'm going to be doing yet, but I will be announcing that soon. Probably like around the beginning of January, I'll announce the details for my New Zealand trip. And that's going to be a bike tour that you can join me on as well. I'm not sure if it's going to be camping or hotels or what yet, but I'll let you guys know just as soon as I can. Maybe I'll do another live broadcast like this or something to announce that New Zealand trip. But I have never been to New Zealand. It's also one of the most popular bicycle touring destinations in the world because of the scenic landscapes, because people speak English, because it's such a safe place to go, et cetera, et cetera. There's so many reasons to go there, but I'm really looking forward to that trip, and I will tell you more of the details once I have that information. So I have not been looking at the live comments as I've been talking, but if you guys have any questions about any of these trips, I'm looking at the comments now. I should have been looking at them the whole time. But yeah, so there's Eric saying that the Bike Virginia trip is $525 for 6 days, price valid through the end of December. Yeah, so thank you, Eric, for mentioning that, because This bike tour in Virginia, the Bike Virginia Tour, is one of the most affordable bike tours that I have ever seen. A lot of these bike tours cost over $1,000 or more, and for a week. But because this is such a big group tour, they can greatly reduce the overall cost of the trip. And it's a camping trip, so it's, you know, it doesn't cost them a lot to put us up. So you save money there. It's honestly just like one of the most affordable bike tours that you could possibly do. And that $525 is for the entire week, the entire 6 days. If you want to just come out for 3 days, it's even less than that. And if you want to come out just for 1 day, it's even less than that. So yeah, I would highly recommend you look into that Bike Virginia trip, especially if you're on the East Coast of the United States. If you live nearby, you should definitely come out. Roger says, good evening from Poland. Cool hair today, Darren. And as usual, a great web chat. Thanks, Roger. I'll be in Poland in a week. Maybe I'll see you. That would be awesome. Bison Viaggio says, hello, Darren. Greetings from France. Daniel says, everybody loves a good story. Okay. I'm trying to see if any of you have questions or comments about the bike tours that I'm doing next year in 2019. If you don't, I'll just keep talking about something else. Oh, yeah. So some of you are talking about camping in New Zealand and the fact that they don't allow wild camping. Yeah. So I honestly haven't done a ton of research on New Zealand, but yeah, I have heard that they don't allow you to just camp anywhere, which is unfortunate. But there are a lot of campgrounds in New Zealand, and so yeah, if I go and do a camping trip, it would obviously be in campgrounds. Someone's saying Jakarta or something. Hi, I'm interested in Portugal. JP from India. India is another place I'd like to go. But yeah, if you're interested in joining the Portugal trip, this is another trip that frankly, I'm not in charge of. I'm just joining the tour. So Fold Visit Cycling Holidays is the company that is organizing the entire thing. And if you want to sign up, just go to their website. They have a contact button. Click that button, send them an email. Yeah, excuse me, and just tell them that Darren Alf from Bicycle Touring Pro sent you. Tell them you want to join the trip with Bicycle Touring Pro. They'll know which one you're talking about. And yeah, they'll send you all the details and everything that you need to make a decision on whether you want to join the tour. Same with the Bike Virginia trip, same with the France trip. Those are all trips that I am not organizing. The only trip that I am personally organizing next year is the weekend style bike tour in Southern California, the Bikes and Burritos tour, in which there's only 15 spots available. So yeah. PD Bike says, what are the Virginia dates and start and end city? Closest airport? Sorry if you already covered that. Yeah, so I'm not exactly sure what the airport is, what the best airport to fly into is. And I just started to look into the details of that for myself, because I'll probably be flying from either Vancouver, Canada or Los Angeles to get to the Bike Virginia event. So I'm going to have to fly into the state as well, probably. And I'm not exactly sure on how to get there yet. I will let you know as soon as I know that, but at the moment I don't know that. I've actually, just a few days ago, I contacted the organizers of Bike Virginia, and I said like, hey, I'm planning to attend the event next year, and could I do a podcast interview with you about the Bike Virginia tour and just ask questions like, how does it work and how do you get there and what kind of things are going to be available during the trip and all that kind of stuff. So I'm trying to set that up sometime, probably in the next week or two. I'll have done that. And then I will have even more information for you guys about the Bike Virginia tour. But because I've never actually done this trip myself, I don't really know a lot of the answers at the moment. But obviously, as the trip gets closer, once I talk to the people from Bike Virginia, I'll let you know the answers to that question. And obviously, after the trip is over, I'll be sharing a whole bunch more information for those of you who want to participate in the Bike Virginia tour, maybe not in 2019, but at some point in the future, 2020, 2021, etc. So Yeah, but I'm sorry, I forgot your name. Where did it go? Oh, PD Bike. That's it. All of the information for that tour is on my website at bicycletouringpro.com/calendar. So just go there, click on the Bike Virginia button that says like learn more about Bike Virginia, and then you can read up all about the Bike Virginia trip. Maybe you can find the details on the website. I'm not exactly sure there. Da, da, da. Hi, Darren. More episodes coming up. Oh, yeah. So someone is asking, Tibor Vari says, hi, Darren. More episodes coming up regarding the Prague to Vienna tour. So for those of you who are subscribed to the Bicycle Touring Pro YouTube channel, for the last month or so, I've been releasing videos from my Prague to Vienna bicycle tour, a week-long bicycle tour that I did in Central Europe this past summer with my friends Kevin, Michael, and Lene. And just this past Thursday, I published the 7th and final episode from that 7-day bicycle tour from Prague to Vienna. So all 7 episodes from that trip are up now on the Bicycle Touring Pro YouTube channel. It is the weekend. So if you want something to do this weekend, I encourage you to go back and watch all 7 episodes from beginning to end. I think if you do that, you may want to go bicycle touring in the Czech Republic afterwards. A lot of people have been writing to me and said, wow, I never knew the Czech Republic was so beautiful. It looks like a great place to go. They couldn't believe some of those, the prices for things that we paid for in the Czech Republic are unbelievable. We stayed in campsites most of the time, and we had one free campsite. We had another campsite that cost $2 US for the night, another campsite that was like $5. I think the most we ever paid for lodging was when we, Kevin and Michael and I, we booked a pension in the Czech Republic, and we paid like $80 for the night, but that was like divided by the 3 of us. So it was like less than 30 bucks, 25 bucks basically for each of us for the entire night. So really, really like an affordable place to go. And as I said in those videos, the Czech Republic is one of the places in the world that I've been to 3 times, I think. This was my 3rd time in the Czech Republic. And honestly, like I would love to go back. It's such a great place for bicycle touring. And it's like one of these undiscovered gems in the world where like a lot of people don't even know about the Czech Republic, and they don't even know that it's like a good place to go to. If they do go to the Czech Republic, most people just go to Prague. They spend a day or 2 in Prague, and then they go somewhere else. But there's honestly like a whole lot more to the Czech Republic that people don't know about. And so I think if you go back and watch my videos, you will see that the Czech Republic is an amazing place to go bicycle touring. But anyways, all 7 episodes from that series are up now on the Bicycle Touring Pro YouTube channel. But starting Monday, this coming Monday, so 2 days from now, I will be releasing a new video from my new bicycle tour, which actually starts in Vienna, Austria, and continues kind of south towards Bratislava, towards Budapest, Hungary, and then kind of circles back through Slovakia into the mountains of Slovakia, and then back to the Czech Republic. So I kind of go in a big circle around Central Europe. And my friend Kevin, who's 70 years old from Australia, joins me on the entire trip. So I have the videos from that entire experience coming out soon on the Bicycle Touring Pro YouTube channel. And for the next 3 videos from that series, there's going to be 2 other people joining Kevin and I on the trip. I don't want to reveal who those people are. It's kind of a secret. But it's a guy and a girl from Vienna, Austria, and one of them is 14 years old. I'll just put it that way. One of them is 14 years old. So it'll be really interesting to see how this individual does on their first bike tour. His 14-year-old first bike tour, riding along with Kevin and I. So you'll have to see what happens. Tune in this coming Monday. Bicycle Touring Pro, the new video revealed. Okay. By the way, I'm releasing new videos every Monday and Thursday here on the Bicycle Touring Pro YouTube channel. So a lot of people are asking, when's the new video coming out? When's the new video coming out? Monday, Thursday. I publish on Monday, Thursday, usually around 10 o'clock in the morning Pacific time. So, yeah. Vels Basket Case says, I married a Czech girl after meeting her on my bike tour. There you go. See, Czech Republic, great place to go. I'm reading your comments. Ryu Savar says, Hungary is also quite unfriendly towards tourists, from my experience. You said New Zealand was unfriendly also. I don't know. I've heard that New Zealand's one of the best places to go in the world, and I've found Hungary to be quite friendly, actually. So that's interesting. What else? Ryu says, hope you had a nice bromance time with Kevin. Yeah, Kevin and I have done 5 bike tours together all around the world. We did a bike tour in Switzerland, a bike tour in Taiwan, a bike tour in, where else? Spain, Portugal, France. Now this bike trip in the Czech Republic, Austria, Slovakia, and Hungary. We've done quite a few together. Yeah, it's just funny. When you find a good touring partner, you got to stick with them sometimes. And Kevin is one of these people that like never complains about anything. So he's a good touring partner. If there's any troublemaker in our group, it's definitely me. I like to give him a hard time. I give him a hard time about his coffee breaks in the morning. I give him a hard time about waking up so early. Yeah. Anyways, pretty funny. You'll see a lot of that in our upcoming videos. Someone says greetings from Prague. So we have someone for the Czech Republic here. Pups Furtz says, your tour next year are rather short, aren't they? So, yeah. So the 4 trips that I have announced today, the one in France, California, Virginia, and Portugal, all of these trips, the longest one is a week long. And to be completely honest, I've talked about this before. Most people who go bicycle touring only go for about 1 or 2 weeks. The average length of a bicycle tour is 1 or 2 weeks. And there's a reason for that. The reason is most people can only get 1 or 2 weeks off of work every year. So while a lot of people who go bicycle touring are retired and have all the time in the world, there are still commitments that a lot of people have, friends, family, social commitments, jobs, etc., that keep people from going off on month or year-long bicycle tours. I go off on month and year-long bicycle tours, but that's because I have the freedom to do so. I've created that. I've worked really hard to create that for myself. That being said, yeah, most people go on 1 or 2 week-long bike tours. So that's why the bike tours that I'm announcing here are so short. Now, I should let you know that I am going to be doing much more bicycle touring personally than the trips that I announced this year. I'm going to be biking for several months on my own all around the world. I'm going to be biking across Portugal, or not Portugal, I'm going to be biking across Poland, Ukraine, and Romania this winter. So like, this is not a trip that I'm inviting anyone on because it's going to be cold and challenging and miserable, and I don't think a lot of people are going to necessarily want to do this. I'm going to be biking across Ukraine in the winter time. And I've been to Ukraine in the wintertime before, back in 2012, and it was the coldest I've ever been in my entire life. Like the type of cold where you can feel your bones freezing. And so I'm going to be doing that again, and I'm going to be documenting it this time on the Bicycle Touring Pro YouTube channel, because back in 2012, I wasn't making videos then. So it should be a pretty interesting video at the very least. I'll be bringing you along on that trip digitally, but it's not a trip that I wanted to invite anyone on just because I think it's going to be cold, challenging, a little bit dangerous, and not something for beginners. So that's why the trips that I've invited you guys on this year are a little bit more enjoyable. Yeah. So I'm doing that on my own this year. I'm also going to be doing some other bike touring in France and Spain by myself, or maybe with some friends. Hint, hint. Some people that you may have seen in some of my previous videos, and some new people as well. And then I'm going to be doing a few little bike tours in the United States in the summer of 2019. I'll be biking by myself once again in Morocco in the late autumn. And yeah, like I said, I'll be in New Zealand as well. I'll be doing some solo trips down there in New Zealand in 2019 also. So yeah, so yes, the trips that I am offering to you guys are all a week long or less, but I am personally going to be doing much more bicycle touring than that. And Pups Furt says, will you be documenting every trip? Yes, I will be documenting every trip. People really love the videos, which is great because I love making them. So yeah, I'm going to be documenting all of the bike touring that I'm going to be doing this year. Like I said, new videos every Monday and Thursday on the Bicycle Touring Pro YouTube channel. Someone asked about what they can do to help me make the videos I saw a second ago. Someone messaged me. And I actually do have, a lot of people ask if they can help donate for the videos or help me in some way for the videos. And yeah, I have actually a donation page on my website. It's at bicycletouringpro.com/donate. And the few donations that I do receive every month, I use towards making the videos here on the Bicycle Touring Pro YouTube channel. I use that money on the cameras and the hard drives that I use to store all of my video data on. You know, I'm looking over here because I got so many of these hard drives with all, you know, I shoot so much footage on a trip. What you guys see, for example, in like a 10-minute video is usually about an hour and a half or 2 hours worth of footage that I've then cut down and edited and trimmed and put music to and put titles to in a 10-minute video. So it takes a lot of work. Like it takes me a full day to shoot the video, then maybe a full day of editing, and then a full day or at least a half day after that to upload the video to YouTube and add all the titles and the descriptions and the thumbnails and then to send out the emails to let you know there's a new video and stuff. So thank you guys for those few donations that do come in. I really appreciate it because that helps me to keep these videos coming. What else here? Someone says, you need to bike through Russia. You're right, I do need to bike through Russia. I haven't technically been to Russia. And it's one of the places that I do really want to go. And I was actually kind of thinking of biking across Belarus and Russia this winter, but I decided that I really didn't want to do it in the winter time. Even though I am going to Ukraine in the winter, I felt more comfortable going to Ukraine than Russia because I've been to Ukraine twice before, and I've also been to Ukraine in the winter before. So I have an idea of what it's going to be like. Although I'm going to completely different places this year, I have an idea of what it's like. Whereas Russia or Belarus, I just didn't want to do a new country, new place in the winter time. I just thought it might be too hard. So I'm going to save Belarus and Russia for some point in the future during the summer. Many of you know I have been trying to bike across every country in Europe, and I've actually biked across every country in Europe except for 3 countries. Those 3 countries are Russia, Belarus, and Cyprus. So Cyprus is probably the easiest one to knock off the list. It's a tiny little island down by Greece and Turkey. That one's going to be very easy to knock off. Belarus is a little bit harder because I have to get a visa to go there, a travel visa, special visa. And there's some logistical problems with getting in and out of the country with a bicycle and stuff. And Russia is another difficult one, in part because I have to get a visa as well, but also because it's a very big country. So at some point I will be doing that, but I just don't know when. And I haven't been able to do that recently. Many of you know I was diagnosed with cancer about almost exactly 3 years ago from today. It was November 24th, 2015 that I went in for my surgery for cancer. So it's been like 3 years and a week since I had cancer. And for the last 3 years, I haven't been able to do like a really big bike tour because every 3 years I'm having to come back here to Southern California to get tests, CT scans, blood tests, doctor visits, etc., in regards to my cancer. So I just yesterday received the results from my latest CT scan, which I was frankly terribly worried about, and everything came back clean. So no cancer, cancer-free, no problems, nothing showed up at all. So I'm pretty happy about that. And the best news is I don't have to get another CT scan now for another year. So I'm basically free for the next year from doctor visits and CT scans and all that stuff, which is freaking awesome. So like I said, last 3 years, I've really been tied down in a lot of ways because of this whole cancer thing. I haven't been able to do a bike tour that was longer than 3 months because I had to go for 3 months and then come home and constantly come back. So anyways, that's why I'm doing a little bit more traveling this year. I've basically got the entire year, 2019, booked up with bicycle tours and making movies. So it's gonna be a good year, I think. Lots of fun. But yeah, thank you also, guys, for your concern and stuff. I really appreciate it. Last 3 years hasn't been fun, that's for sure. That being said, I'm kind of proud of the fact of how much bicycle touring I have done in the last 3 years, despite what I've been going through. Since being diagnosed with cancer, I have ridden my bicycle across, I don't know, about 10 countries or a dozen countries or something. I've gone to, I've biked across the United States. I've biked across, where else? Portugal, Spain, France, Andorra, Czech Republic, Austria, Slovakia, Hungary, Poland, Norway, Sweden, Finland, Colombia, and Ecuador. Those are all of the places I've gone since I had cancer. So pretty good overall for the situation. The other day I got an email from somebody who was like, why don't you go to somewhere more remote? All you do is go to Europe and America. And I had to write them back and explain that, well, the reason I haven't been to Africa lately, for example, I have been to Africa, and I have been to Asia or something like that, is I haven't been to those places lately just because of my whole cancer situation and the fact that I didn't want to go to some place where I was like, if something were to happen, I was going to be in trouble, basically. I wanted to stick to areas that I felt comfortable and felt like I could go to the hospital if I needed to and get assistance. So now that I'm 3 years out, my doctors say once I hit the 5-year mark, I'm basically free. But now that I've hit this 3-year mark, I'm in a much better situation to do some longer and more remote bicycle tours. So you'll see me in Morocco this year. That'll be fun. That's a little more remote than some of the places I've gone recently. And yeah, I honestly would really like to get back to Africa. I really enjoyed my time there. And I'd love to do more bicycle touring in Africa, especially. Africa is like one of these places in the world that not a lot of people go to. It's so big. There's so many different things and people and places to see. And it's a place that I would like to spend some more time. I just don't know. Like I said, I've already got 2019 pretty much booked up. So it's not going to happen. Like I said, I'll be in Morocco, Africa, a little bit in 2019. But beyond that, I don't know if I'll go to any other countries. But I think the last time I was in Africa was in 2014. And at that time, I wasn't making videos from my bike tours yet. So a lot of people who are new to Bicycle Touring Pro just see me doing my last couple trips in Europe and America, and they think that's maybe all I've ever done biking in the world. But the truth is I've been to so many other countries that that I haven't documented on video. Pretty much all of, going way back, my first 6 bike tours, I biked across America 6 times in 6 different directions. And on those, that was back in 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006. All of my US-based bike tours were way back then. And back then I wasn't shooting video, and I was actually like barely taking photos, because my early bike tours, digital cameras did not exist back then. I was carrying a film camera. I had 2 rolls of film, and that's all I took for the entire bike ride across the United States. So I've really only got a handful of photos from a lot of my early bike tours, like the East Coast bike tour that I was telling you guys about earlier when I rode from North Carolina to Maine. I've really only got a few photos of me and my bicycle out there on the road from that particular trip. I wish I had been taking videos from all of those initial bike tours. I wish I had had video from my trip to Taiwan that I did with Kevin a few years ago. I wish I had videos from my trip across Swaziland when I flipped my bicycle upside down and landed on my feet. I wish I had a video of that. That would have been amazing. But yeah, I don't. So, but I'm looking forward to making more videos in the future. I just think, one, it's a great way to document my trips, but it's also a great way, it has been a great way for me to share what bicycle touring can be like with you guys. And like I said previously, I like to show you that there are different types of bicycle tours. Every place that you go, it changes the way that you travel. And there's different ways, you can camp, you can go in hotels, you can go in hostels, you can stay with strangers. There's so many different ways to do it. And I think, mixing it up and doing things differently is what makes bicycle touring really interesting. Federer says, when are you going to be in Morocco? That's going to be like in October, I think, of 2019. So somewhere around there. I don't want to go to Morocco when it's super hot. So I think like late October, probably, maybe even November, that time period is when I'm planning to be in Morocco. David Barker says, this is good. David Barker says, how do you find it being back in the USA as a very widely traveled person, given that most people there haven't traveled that much? That's a very good question, and it's a little bit difficult for me to answer that without me sounding like I'm offending somebody. Because I just completed a 3-month-long trip across the Western United States. I was in California, Nevada, Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, Utah, all of those states. And honestly, I felt a little out of place, even though like I'm from the United States and I grew up in the Western US, like this is my home, this is the place I know better than anywhere else in the world. I just honestly didn't feel like this is my place anymore. And I've said it before, but like I think the one thing that travel does for you is it turns you into a global citizen. Like a lot of people in America who have never been outside of the United States, they're American citizens, proud to be an American, but they've never been anywhere else. And I've been to a lot of places in the world. So I know that people are pretty much good everywhere you go. And I think it's sad that some people don't think that, basically. Yeah. It's just like I honestly now have more friends in other countries than I have in the United States. And I think part of that is just to do with the mentality of people. Like that's what I like about Europe is there's so many different countries in a very small space. And because of that, the people there are aware of the other countries and the other people around them. America is such a big country with not very many countries nearby. We got Canada and Mexico, and that's it, pretty much. And so a lot of Americans are so insular, and they, like you said, a lot of Americans, they don't travel internationally, or if they do travel, it's just in the United States. And yeah, I think travel is a really good thing overall in regards to basically understanding that the world is not what it is portrayed on the news. If you just sit at home and watch the news all day, you would think that like the world is a freaking scary place and I should never go outside. But that is maybe the power of bicycle touring, is the fact that like you get out there and you see that actually the world is not that scary. People are not that scary. And yeah, so I actually like get a lot of people writing to me and saying like, hey, I'm interested in going on a bike tour, but I'm too scared to like go to another place. And I honestly can understand where they're coming from. Like I was scared going to my first country when I first did my first bike tour that I ever did internationally was Germany, which is probably one of the safer places to go in the entire world. But that's why I went there myself. But even when I went to Germany, I was really scared because I'm like, I don't speak the language. What if I offend somebody? You know, what if I can't figure things out and people think I'm stupid? You know, there's a lot of fears that go on with going to any new country, let alone maybe some of these more remote countries that I've certainly been to over the years. So I don't know if I have any advice for those of you who are like thinking about doing an international tour, other than you got to give it a try, because I honestly think like I've benefited so much not only from bicycle touring but from my international bike tours, and now I feel like I like bike touring in the United States. It's okay, but I feel like bike touring internationally is just such another experience. Because there's so many different aspects to it. Like one of the, I've said this before, so I apologize if you've heard me say this, but one of the things that I like so much about traveling internationally is going to the supermarket. It seems so silly, but like when I'm here in Southern California right now and I go to the supermarket here, I'm bored out of my freaking mind. I know where everything is. I can read every label. I've seen these products, the same products, every day for my entire life. It's boring. But when I go to another country, I go to a supermarket in Romania or Turkey or Taiwan or Lesotho in Africa. Just the trip to the supermarket is like an exciting adventure because there's all these products that I've never seen or heard of before. I can't read what the labels are, so I'm trying to figure out what everything is. And it's just that itself is an adventure, not even to mention the bike touring and the social interactions and stuff on top of that. So that's what I honestly like most about my international bike tours is like oftentimes when you do travel, you'll notice that like a lot of the places are very similar around the world. Like so many people watch my videos from Sweden and they're like, that looks like my house here in Minnesota. And they're right. It does look a lot probably like Sweden does look a lot like Minnesota. The difference, however, is from a landscape perspective, it looks very similar. But from a people perspective and from a social perspective and from the supermarket market perspective, Sweden and Minnesota are complete opposites. And that's what makes international travel so fun. So just a total rant there. But yeah, I love international bike touring. Sorry, I'm just reading some of your comments. Andrew North says, you inspire me to try Colombia. Would have thought too dangerous. Yeah, so there's actually a lot of places I've been in the world that have been considered potentially dangerous or were considered dangerous when I went there. So I recently biked across Colombia, and Colombia is one of those places that was maybe one of the most dangerous places in the world at some point, but now it's really kind of cleaned up its act and has improved quite a bit. That being said, there are still bad things happening pretty much everywhere in the world. So I'm not like, I don't ever want to say like Colombia is a perfectly safe place to go now, because I don't think that's 100% true. And I know that there have been incidences just recently that took place there. But from my experience, everybody I met in Colombia was actually really friendly. And it would have been easier, that trip would have been easier if I had spoken Spanish. I don't speak Spanish, or I only really know a few words. So, but if I spoke Spanish, I think that trip would have been a whole lot easier. But yeah, Colombia is one of these places in the world that I would totally love to go back to. So colorful, such different like scenery and landscapes. There's so much to see and do in that place. Food is good. It's cheap. Yeah, really nice. So But yeah, other places I've gone where it's been potentially dangerous, like South Africa, I was there. I saw 2 people killed on the side of the road. Where else? I was in Ukraine during the Crimean War, and I'm going back to Ukraine now. And there's stuff happening in Ukraine at the moment with the Russians and all of that. So there's things like that have happened. I'm trying to think of other crazy places I've been. I've been to Kosovo, which has a history of its own. I've gone to some crazy places in Turkey where the person at the not the supermarket, like a 7-Eleven, has a rifle behind the desk. I don't know. I've seen all kinds of crazy things, but yeah, for the most part, the world is a very safe place. And even these dangerous places that I went to, once I got there, I realized that they were not really dangerous at all. Oh, a good example of that, I was in Athens, Greece, back in 2009 when they were having these riots that were occurring like pretty much nightly out in the streets of Athens. And there were like police were getting attacked, and there were people out in SWAT gear every single night on every single corner, basically. And if you watch the news, it appeared as though the entire city of Athens was like burning or something. And that it was just the entire city was like a no-go zone. But I ended up staying in Athens for a month and a half during this entire incident. And what I learned was that most of the attacks and stuff were basically happening on like a couple street corners in a very specific part of Athens. And so the news kind of made it look like the whole city was in trouble, but in reality, most of the city was operating like normal. And there was just this one little area at night that during the day was perfectly fine to go through, but at night was kind of a little scary, or could be a little scary and stuff. So a lot of times it's like that when you're traveling. And I think that's what I've run into most on my travels, is like usually the place in general is very safe, but there's these little pockets of places that you should probably steer clear of. Firas Hamden says, question, do you remember the name of the hotel where Kevin and you were allowed to camp for free? Yes, that was just outside of Vienna. That was Hotel Klaus. I'm not sure exactly which city that was in, but if you watch the video, I think I say what city it was in. Yeah, I do, in fact, show what city it was in. So it's in the video. If you guys have any questions for me, I'm reading the comments right now. I'll try to answer a few more comments, especially if you have questions about the 2019 bike tours. Those are the questions that I would love to answer most. So I'm totally open to any other questions that you guys might have. But yeah, if you have any questions about the 2019 bike tours in France, California, Virginia, or Portugal, I'd really like to answer those questions. AJ says, what kind of podcast do you listen to while camping? How do you kill time while camping alone in the forest every day on your trips? Yeah, so AJ, if you go to bicycletouringpro.com and then just type in podcasts in the search bar, I've actually written an article where I list a bunch of my favorite podcasts. They aren't actually bicycle podcasts. They're just podcasts in general that I like. So yeah, all of that information's up on my website. Roman Atman says West and Central Ukraine is safe for cycling. Yeah, that's where I'm going to be, Western and Central Ukraine. Ryu says, what's the craziest stuff you saw while bicycle touring? The craziest stuff I can't even say on camera. A few things come to mind. I was in Ukraine, in Lviv, Ukraine, at the train station, and I saw these two like homeless men beating each other. Basically, they were fighting over this corner of the train station as like that. You're in my spot, you know what I mean? The train station, like if you're homeless in Ukraine, it's freezing cold during the wintertime. So a lot of people go to the train station and just stay there and sleep on the ground, or the bus, the benches and stuff like that because it's a warm place to sleep. And so these homeless people were like beating the crap out of each other, like bleeding from the face and everything, fighting over this like small 2-foot corner of the train station. One of those incidences where you think, shit, what is going on? But also like you feel very grateful for your situation. You know what I mean? Like your life is not all that bad. You've got, if you have a warm place to sleep, you should be grateful. So that's like I think one of the craziest things I see. The guy's lip was like hanging down, like, he was beat up bad. Another crazy thing I saw, like I said, I don't even want to mention some of these on video. Trying to think. Well, something that was kind of crazy, but is G-rated, is when I was in South Africa, I was riding through this like a reserve, an animal reserve. And you may not know this, but like in Africa, all the wild animals are not, they're for the most part, they're not just like roaming around. Like you can't just be like driving on the highway in South Africa and like a lion will pop out in the middle of the road. That generally doesn't happen. All of the dangerous animals are in these big fenced off reserves. But there are some reserves, well, I should say that because they're all fenced off in these reserves, they won't let you ride your bicycle in some of the reserves. If they know that there are lions or hyenas or something like that in the reserve, they won't let you go through there on your bicycle. So like Kruger National Park, which is probably the most famous safari location in the entire world, is one of these places where you cannot go through there on a bicycle because there's lions and dangerous animals, rhinos and hippos and all kinds of stuff. They won't even let you out of your car in Kruger National Park. It's too dangerous just to get something out of your car for even a moment. So, but there are reserves in South Africa that you can ride your bicycle through because they know for a fact that there are no dangerous animals in those reserves. But there are other animals. So there may be wildebeest, there may be ostriches, there may be, what else? All kinds of antelope or giraffes or even elephant. And so I was biking through one of these reserves that didn't have any lions in it, hopefully, but it had these other animals. And it was like a dirt road, and I could see these ostriches off in the distance, maybe, I don't know, 1,000 feet away, pretty far away. But there was like 200 of them. And I stopped and was like trying to take a picture and shoot these ostriches, and they started running towards me. They were coming towards me like full speed ahead. And at first I thought, oh, this is awesome, I'm gonna get some great photos. But they just kept getting closer and closer and closer. And I don't know if you've ever seen an ostrich in person, but they're freaking huge. They're way bigger than you are. They're like 10 of you combined. And they're gigantic and they're tall and they're freaking scary. And when there's 200 of them coming at you, it is so frightening. And so I was standing there taking pictures, and I have the pictures of this somewhere. I may even have video. But at one point, I realized I better stop taking pictures and run because I am seriously going to get trampled. And so that's what happened. I like literally jumped on my bike and started sprinting down this dirt road with 200 ostriches like running by my side. They never caught me, thank goodness. They kind of ran parallel to me, but very, very close actually. And it was like one of the most frightening things that has ever happened to me on my bike tours anywhere around the world. It was like one of those moments where you're like, whoa, this is awesome. And then the next moment you're like, holy crap, I'm gonna die all at once. In like a split second, things change, you know what I mean? So anyways, that's one of the things. I don't know. Like I said, there's a lot of things that I could mention, some of which I probably shouldn't mention on video. If you get me around a campfire, join me on the Bikes and Burritos tour in May. I may tell you one of my top secret stories. Anyways, okay, I'm just going to answer a couple more questions, and then I got to go, guys. I got a pretty full day today. But Scott says, if I come out for the Bikes and Burritos tour, is there a safe place to park my van while riding? Yeah. So we're going to begin the Bikes and Burritos tour at my parents' house in Southern California. If you sign up for the trip, I'll send you the address. But basically, you park the van, your car or truck or van or whatever at my parents' house. There's plenty of parking here, and it's totally safe. And then we'll ride our bikes down to the campsite, come back to your car the following day, and then you're free to come home. So, yeah, safe place to park your car, not a problem. And the same is true with the Virginia trip, by the way. For those of you who are interested in coming out for the Bike Virginia tour in June, you can, if you live nearby, you can drive your car to the event, and they have parking right there at the event. So a lot of people will, in fact, just be driving from Virginia or from other places in the East Coast or something like that to the Bike Virginia event. And I might drive as well. I don't know. I might fly, I might drive. I'm not sure yet. But yeah, so there's parking for that as well. I'm reading your comments. AJ says, do you still get excited about your trips like your initial years, or does it get less exciting? What do you most look forward to during your trip? That's a good question. Not something people ask a lot, actually. The truth is, the things that excite me about bicycle touring have changed over the years. When I first started bicycle touring, I saw it as like a physical challenge. Like, can I physically ride my bike across the country? And now that I've been bike touring for almost 19 years, I know that I can physically bike across the country because I've done it. I know that I can climb the steepest mountain that there is possibly to ride because I've done so many of that over the years. So that particular aspect of bicycle touring has changed for me a little bit. It's like, I know that I can do this. It may take me time. I may not be the fastest person in the whole world, but I know that I can do it. The things that excite me now, well, one, I enjoy making the videos for the Bicycle Touring Pro YouTube channel. Honestly, like, that's one of the aspects that I like most about bike touring now, is just making the videos and sharing my trips with you. I enjoy that. I also enjoy helping other people plan and prepare for their own bike tours, which is what I've been doing at bicycletouringpro.com for the last 11 years, going on 12 years. So I think it's shifted in a way from like doing these bike tours for myself, and now I kind of do the bike tours for other people, and I enjoy that a lot. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question. Marcin Ha 1973 says, Darren, which city in Poland are you starting your trip from? So I'm going to be in Poznan, Poland, which is like one of my favorite cities in the whole world, for the entire month of December and a little bit of January. Then I'm probably gonna take a train from Poznan over to Lublin, Poland, which is on the eastern side, kind of near Krakow. And I'm gonna start biking from there into Ukraine. That's kind of the plan at this point. So Lublin, Poland, into Ukraine. That's sort of the plan. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Yeah, that's where I'll be. Vell's basket case says, overtraining, how do you avoid it? I'm screwed after 3 months riding. I'm not exactly sure what you mean. What do you mean you're screwed after 3 months riding? I honestly don't understand your question. Can you try again? Let me know. Chris Lang says, will Bike Virginia afford you the opportunity to host a meet and greet? I don't know if Bike Virginia will organize anything special like that, but I will definitely make myself available for that. There are going to be a lot of people there, so it's not like it may be a little bit difficult to find me, but I will do something probably on multiple nights of the trip where maybe all of us Bicycle Touring Pro readers get together and hang out or something, go to one of the music events at the end of the ride, or even ride together all day long. Hopefully that will happen. And if you sign up for the trip, yeah, just send me a message and I'll like add you to my personal list. I'll create a little list for all of the people going to the Bike Virginia event, and then that way we can just all get together when we're there. That would be really cool. Dave says, I'm going to cycle the coast of Portugal. How hilly is it? Not that hilly, actually. I've cycled the coast of Portugal 3 times, and I'm going back for a 4th time this year. And honestly, like, that's one of the reasons Portugal is such a great bicycle touring destination and so popular, is because the hills there are really not all that big in comparison to places like Switzerland or something, or the Rocky Mountains in America. So yeah, not that big at all. There's a few steep climbs, but honestly, like, the hills are not that bad in Portugal. I think the worst part about cycling in Portugal is the potholes. Like, pretty much every town, not potholes, sorry. What are they called? Cobblestones. I had a brain fart there. Cobblestones. So a lot of the smaller towns in Portugal have these cobblestone streets that run through the center of the city. So when you're out of the city, you're on a perfectly smooth bike path or paved road or whatever. But when you get into the city center, then you're on these cobblestones. And I think the cobblestones can be worse than any of the hills that you'll find in Portugal. But that's just me. I don't really like cobblestones all that much. Can you tell? Oliver says, so no Slovakia in 2019? No, I'm not going to be going back to Slovakia in 2019. I was there this year, 2018, and I don't think I'll be going back. Someone says, about the France tour, do you know what types of roads and bikes will be provided? Yeah, so the France trip, you can rent a bike for that bike tour if you don't want to bring your own. And most people that do participate in that bike tour will just be using one of the provided rental bikes. I'm not exactly sure which bikes are available, but that information is actually on the Belle France website. Once again, if you go to bicycletouringpro.com/calendar, click on that France trip and then click on the links to the actual tour company at Belle France. You can probably find that information on their website. I haven't looked into that myself because I'm going to be bringing my own bicycle with me. But I do know for a fact that most people that participate in this France bike tour, you do usually rent a bike. And I think they have regular bicycles as well as e-bikes for those of you who maybe want to try an e-bike. E-biking is becoming really popular. And the trip I did this past summer in Portugal with Fold & Visit Cycling Holidays, they actually had several, like a third of the group was on e-bikes, which was frankly kind of fun. I was kind of wanting to try one. But anyways. Someone asked about the cost for the Portugal tour. The cost varies depending on whether you come alone or with another person, and the bike is included on the Portugal trip, which is great. So again, I would encourage you to check out the website. I don't want to give you the cost myself because I'm not leading the tour myself. Another company is, so it's best if you talk to them about the price. I don't want to give you misinformation, but the cost is listed on their website, and it's going to, like I said, it depends on if you come alone or with another person, or if you want your own room, that sort of a thing. So there's some variation to the pricing, but all of that is listed on the Fold & Visit Cycling Holidays website. So, and again, bicycletouringpro.com/calendar. If you check out the links below this video in the video description, I have listed the links to all of these bike tours. So there's the bike tour in France, the bike tour in California, the bike tour in Virginia, the bike tour in Portugal. The links to all 4 of those tours are in the video description down below. Just click on those links and you'll get the information that you're looking for. Hey, Mark, thank you so much. Mark just donated $5 and said, love your work, bless you. Thank you so much, Mark. I really appreciate that. Bikey Mike says, hey, Darren, just got here. Bikey Mike, where you been, man? You're missing out. I was just about to close things up. Chris Lang says, while you're on the east coast of the trip, you should try biking the C&O Canal and Gap trails. Yeah, those are 2 other popular cycling destinations. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be doing that this year, but maybe at some point in the future. AJ says, I'm very thankful for your videos, man. God knows when and if I'll do such tours, but at the end of each trip, it feels like I've done the trip myself, if that makes sense. Great stuff. Yeah, thank you a lot, AJ. That means a lot to me. I appreciate it. Okay, guys, I think that's it. I've been on for an hour and a half now. I just wanted to tell you about most importantly, my USA-based bicycle tours. This is really the first year that I have ever conducted 2 bike tours in the USA that you guys can join me on. And the vast majority of my Bicycle Touring Pro followers are here in the United States. So these are 2 opportunities, East Coast and West Coast, for you to join me on one of my upcoming bicycle tours. So I hope you'll consider joining me either on my bike tour in California for the Bikes and Burritos tour, which is in May of 2019, or in June, the East Coast bike tour in Virginia with Bike Virginia. I hope you'll consider coming out and joining me on that trip as well. So you could do both trips if you really wanted to. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And yeah, just go to my website, bicycletouringpro.com/calendar, to get all of the details on all of the bike tours that I've mentioned in this video. And if you have any questions, don't be afraid to contact me privately through Facebook, email, Instagram, all of those things. I am answering comments and questions all the time. So if you're interested in joining me on these bike tours in France, Portugal, or the United States, or even my upcoming bike tour in New Zealand, if you're interested in that, let me know. And I'm happy to help in any way that I can. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I hope this information has been interesting and useful for you. And I hope you have a great weekend. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And I honestly hope to see you out on the road sometime soon. Okay, guys, that's it. I'm Darren Alf, bicycletouringpro.com. Have a good one, guys. All right. Bye-bye.